Welcome to your night's closure, your sanctuary of calm. No images, no noise, just my voice, guided by neuro-linguistic programming and cognitive science, gently seeding affirmations and stories in your subconscious mind. So lie back, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let your transformation begin quietly and naturally as you rest. If this space speaks to you, like and subscribe now. Or if you're already deep in focus, let it wait. Come back when the moment feels right. Walls of steel, eyes unblinking, heart locked tight, softness buried, protection first. It is late, yet your mind seems wide awake. Even though your body longs for rest, your thoughts circle back to the same question. Why does loving feel so risky? You may have been told you come across as cold or detached. Others might wonder why you keep people at arm's length. Yet in the depths of your being, you know something softer resides, something vulnerable, waiting for a gentle touch. And so each night, as the world grows still, you wrestle with this tension, the need to guard yourself versus the desire to be truly seen. Imagine a young woman named Kai. As a child, she felt everything deeply: joy, sorrow, wonder, and pain. Yet the adults around her didn't always know how to hold that depth. When her feelings became too big, they told her to calm down or stop being dramatic. Over time, Kai learned that it was safer to hide her emotions than to let them spill out. She built invisible walls around her heart, believing that keeping distance meant no one could hurt her again. Kai's walls worked, up to a point. She excelled in school, she made friends easily enough, and she learned to smile even when her chest felt tight. But inside, she carried a continuous hum of tension. Her mind equated closeness with danger. Compassion felt like a double-edged sword, sweet in theory, but potentially painful if wielded the wrong way. The world saw her as cool, composed, perhaps even indifferent. Few realized that beneath that composed surface lay a fragile core, yearning for softness and acceptance. As you listen, reflect on your own walls. Where did they begin? Maybe someone criticized you unfairly. Maybe a betrayal taught you that trust is temporary. Perhaps you felt too vulnerable and figured it was better to be seen as cold than to risk being hurt again. These walls might show up in how you interact with friends, in romantic relationships, or even with family. Any situation where emotional exposure felt risky. Our brains are remarkable at protecting us. When we experience emotional pain, rejection, criticism, abandonment, the amygdala, the part of our brain responsible for processing fear and threat, lights up like an alarm. Over time, the brain begins to associate certain cues, someone getting too close, sharing too much, as threats. To keep us safe, it erects barriers: emotional distance, sarcasm, detached tone. This protective strategy works in the short term, but it also prevents genuine connection. Think about the last time you felt someone inching toward your heart. How did your body react? Did your chest tighten? Did your breath grow shallow? Perhaps your mind jumped to worst-case scenarios. They will see my weakness and leave. Or they will judge me. In that moment, your brain, circuitry honed by past experiences, mobilized defenses. It told you to pull back, to protect that soft center that felt too fragile for exposure. Yet in guarding that softness, you may have also muffled your own capacity for warmth. When the world perceived you as cold, it often brushed past your deeper layers without even trying to decipher them. You may have been judged unfairly, labeled aloof, unfeeling, uninterested. Those labels can sting, reinforcing the belief that being open is too dangerous. The irony is that the very thing you protect, your tender heart, remains unseen, longing for recognition. Pause now. Breathe in gently and out. Ask yourself, what am I protecting by being distant? What parts of me feel too vulnerable to show? Notice any sensations in your body: tightness, emptiness, tension. You are safe to feel it all. You are safe to question these patterns. Kai's story did not end at her walls. One evening, she met someone named Marcus. He was quiet, thoughtful, and unhurried. Unlike others who tried to break her walls quickly, Marcus respected the space she needed. He listened without judgment when she spoke. He didn't push her to feel more than she was ready to feel. Instead, he reflected her softness back to her in small, consistent ways: an occasional kind word, a gentle nod, a warm smile across a crowded room. Slowly, Kai noticed something subtle shifting inside. The alarms in her mind quieted just enough to let her breathe more easily around him. Perhaps you know a relationship like this. Someone who respected your pace, who noticed your quiet strengths without demanding more. When we find such gentle presence, our hard edges begin to soften. The brain, ever adaptive, starts to rewire. Neuroplasticity allows neural pathways to change when new, safer experiences occur. Each time someone responds to your vulnerability with kindness instead of criticism, your brain receives a new signal. Closeness can be safe. Over time, the walls that once felt essential start to feel less impenetrable. Consider the neuroscience behind this. Repeated experiences of safety and acceptance can downregulate the amygdala's reactivity. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for reason and emotional regulation, can calm the fear signals when it learns that emotional expression does not always lead to harm. Mindfulness practices further support this process, training your brain to observe sensations and emotions without immediately reacting. Over weeks of consistent practice and healthy interactions, the brain's default patterns can shift from seek safety and distance to experience connection with openness. Now, let's dive deeper into Kai's turning point. One rainy afternoon, she found herself reflecting on a painting she once loved as a child, an image of two hands gently cupping a fragile bird. Her grandmother had shown it to her decades ago, teaching her that tenderness is a quiet act of courage. On that afternoon, Kai remembered how safe it felt to be held by that story. As the rain tapped against the window, she realized she had forgotten that lesson somewhere along the way. She had equated softness with vulnerability, but her grandmother had spoken of softness as strength, the bravery to hold something delicate with care. That insight opened a new chapter. Kai began practicing small acts of gentleness toward herself. When an old fear bubbled up, say the dread of being judged, she would acknowledge it. I see you, fear. Thank you for protecting me once. Now I am safe enough to let you rest. She spoke kindly to the part of her that believed she must remain cold. She let herself feel the warmth of a comforting blanket, the taste of a favorite tea, the softness of her pet's fur. These simple sensory moments reminded her that softness can be nurturing, not dangerous. Reflect. What memories or lessons have you forgotten amid your protective habits? Can you recall moments when vulnerability felt like bravery instead of risk? Let your imagination drift to a time when someone's gentle kindness made you feel safe. Hold that memory as a seed you can nurture tonight. The path from hardness to openness is not about erasing defenses all at once. It is about learning to let them relax, piece by piece. Like a fortress with many gates, each door opens only when it feels safe enough. You do not need to dismantle everything at once. You can honor your cautious instinct while also inviting gentle healing. Now, Imagine your heart as a garden hidden behind high walls. For years, only thin slices of light reached the soil, and only sturdy weeds survived. But deep underground, there remain seeds of beauty and tenderness, seeds waiting to sprout if given the right conditions. In this quiet night, allow soft light to filter in. Visualize those walls lowering, not crumbling, but opening a little, revealing glimpses of what grows within. Breathe in, and know it is safe to lower the walls just a bit. Breathe out, and release the belief that exposure equals danger. Feel the warmth growing inside like sunlight on dewy earth. Affirm gently, I honor my protective instincts. They once kept me safe. I also honor my soft heart. It is a source of strength and compassion. I choose to allow tenderness to grow at my own pace. I am learning that vulnerability is courage. I am safe to be seen for all of who I am. Pause and let these words settle. Your subconscious mind is ready to absorb these truths, even as sleep approaches. As the night carries you forward, know that each gentle breath, each compassionate thought, is a step toward balance. You can keep parts of yourself guarded while also revealing the beauty beneath. Healing happens in layers, and each layer you tend with kindness becomes a foundation for deeper trust. Tonight, let the memory of that painting, 2 hands cradling a fragile bird, linger in your mind. Let it remind you that your softness is not a liability, but a gift. Let it guide you toward a future where you hold your heart with both care and confidence, knowing that real protection is not walls of steel, but the courage to embrace your true self. Rest now, knowing that even as you sleep, your brain will continue to integrate these insights. The seeds of openness and safety are planted, and in time they will grow. You are safe. You are brave. You are beautiful. Softness remembers. Beneath every layer of steel, a tender pulse persists. Fear once taught the heart to guard. Now, a quieter voice beckons it to trust. When we build walls around our tender places, it is not because we are inherently cold, far from it. We do so because at some point, vulnerability felt too dangerous. In that moment, pain signaled a threat, a harsh word, an abandoned promise, a glance of disdain. These experiences, stored deep within the limbic system, became warning flags. Surviving required distance. So we learned to retreat behind invisible fortresses, believing safety lay in imperviousness. But emotional walls, however necessary at the time, can outlive their purpose. They calcify into habits that shape every interaction, every connection. Social psychologists have long studied this phenomenon. Research on emotional regulation reveals that when early caregivers respond inconsistently, a child's brain becomes hypervigilant. It scans for cues of rejection, learning to equate emotional exposure with danger. By adulthood, this pattern can manifest as guarded behavior, closed body language, minimal self-disclosure, emotional detachment. The body may appear calm, but beneath the surface, the heart's often pumping with tension. Think of emotional walls as armor tailored to fit old wounds. You wear it so consistently that it becomes second nature. Only occasionally, usually when you're most tired or stressed, do you notice how heavy it feels. In those moments, small things can crack the facade. A compliment that throws you off balance, a gesture of kindness that prompts a scared whisper in your mind. What does this mean? Is it too good to be true? There was a man named Samuel who knew this all too well. He grew up believing that showing emotion was akin to weakness. His family valued stoicism. Tears or displays of tenderness were met with discomfort. As a result, young Samuel learned to swallow his feelings, tucking them away like contraband. He excelled in school and work. People admired his composure, but his closest relationships were fraught. Friends would joke that he was unfeeling. Partners felt shut out, as though they were reaching for something Samuel refused to share. One evening, after yet another lonely dinner, Samuel noticed a painting on the wall, an abstract piece of cerulean waves crashing into white foam. It evoked a memory of childhood summer afternoons at the shore, when his mother let him play freely in shallow water. He remembered her laughter, the warmth of the sun, the safety he felt in her presence. In that moment, he realized how far he'd moved from the ease of those days. The painting stirred something forgotten, the idea that water could be both powerful and gentle, that openness did not guarantee pain, but could bring rejuvenation. Samuel's mind is a testament to the brain's dual processes. On one side lies the amygdala, guarding against perceived threats. On the other, the prefrontal cortex, capable of nuance, reflection, and rewriting narratives. When the amygdala floods us with fear at the first sign of emotional closeness, say, a partner reaches for our hand, a cascade of cortisol and adrenaline can surge through the body. The heart accelerates, the muscles tense, and the instinct is to pull away. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, with mindful practice and self-awareness, can intervene, reminding us that not every approach is an attack, that sometimes a hand extended is simply an offer of love. In Samuel's case, that painting became a catalyst. He began to practice noticing the tension in his shoulders whenever someone offered warmth. Instead of recoiling, he paused, gently placed a hand over his heart, and acknowledged the fear. "Thank you for protecting me." He let his shoulders drop, allowed his breath to slow. By meeting the fear with compassion rather than suppression, he engaged neural pathways that supported calm rather than alarm. This shift did not happen overnight. It required consistency, repeated experiences that contradicted old beliefs. Each time someone met his guardedness with patience, his brain received a new message. Closeness can be safe. Over time, these messages weakened the amygdala's grip, allowing the prefrontal cortex to grow stronger. Neuroimaging studies show this very process. Repeated exposure to safe interpersonal connection can reduce amygdala reactivity and strengthen prefrontal control circuits. Perhaps you have seen this in your own life. A friend who never judged you, even when you flinched at their kindness. A mentor who listened and asked questions without rushing to solutions. A stranger's compassion that surprised you and made your chest feel lighter. These moments are not coincidences. They are invitations for your brain to remap what safety and warmth feel like. Pause now. Breathe in slowly and out. Notice any places where your body still clenches. Maybe it's a pinch between your shoulder blades or a knot in your stomach. Picture that tension as a signal from your mind, not your true self. You are more than this tension. You are the one witnessing it, capable of kindness and transformation. Emotional walls also shape our expectations. When vulnerability has consistently been met with disappointment or rejection, we learn to expect pain rather than comfort. This expectation biases our perception. A neutral comment feels like criticism. A simple gesture of care reads as potential betrayal. Cognitive schemas form, mental templates that interpret every new experience through the lens of past wounds. Thus, even good intentions can be filtered through suspicion, and silence can be misread as disinterest. Consider a woman named Alina. She once trusted too quickly and was left broken. Afterward, she vowed never to let anyone in deeply again. She built a persona of detachment, convincing herself that if she remained unreachable, she would avoid hurt. But this promise, while protective, cost her intimacy. When her partner reached out with genuine affection, she struggled to receive it. She interpreted his warmth as pity or codependency. In moments of closeness, her mind warned her, "Careful, they will let you down." One night, Alina participated in a group meditation, guided by a teacher who emphasized the concept of co-regulation, the idea that our nervous systems can calm one another through shared presence. As the teacher spoke, Alina felt the ambient warmth of the group's collective breath. For the first time, she noticed that when others offered non-judgmental attention, her chest didn't tighten as much. She felt a flicker of safety in the simple act of shared stillness. In the following weeks, she sought out small, consistent experiences of co-regulation: coffee with a patient friend, volunteering at a community circle, listening to empathetic voices in support groups. Gradually, her brain began to relearn that connection does not always equate with pain. You, too, have the capacity for co-regulation with yourself. While nothing can replace the warmth of another's presence, you can practice offering it to your own inner self. When fear arises, place a gentle hand over your heart. Speak softly, "I am here for you. You are safe." With each repetition, your brain begins to associate that phrase, that touch, with soothing rather than threat. In therapy, clients often describe this as building the inner container, a safe, compassionate space inside where all emotions can be welcomed, felt, and transformed. It becomes a refuge within, independent of outside circumstances. Neuroscience confirms that these self-soothing practices activate the parasympathetic nervous system, releasing oxytocin and calming the amygdala. Over time, the inner container expands, allowing more vulnerability without alarm. Imagine your heart as a delicate origami crane, crisp folds of paper crystallized by past rains. Each creak and crack felt like betrayal. But if you breathe softly into those creases, if you let warmth and kindness seep in, the paper forgives its past transformation and unfolds into a new shape. One that bears the marks of its history but soars in the present. Reflect on your own inner container. What practices have helped you feel safe? A soothing mantra, a gentle touch, a visualization of warmth. Hold those practices close. Let them guide you when your mind wants to retreat behind hardened walls. Now, feel the shift happening within. The night carries you deeper into this realization that protection and openness are not mutually exclusive. You can keep your heart safe while still allowing it to feel. You can invite tenderness to flourish, even in small doses, without fear of obliteration. Affirm these truths quietly. I am learning to honor both my need for safety and my need for connection. My walls served me, but I can choose to open them when I feel safe. Vulnerability is a bridge to authenticity, not a path to destruction. I am capable of holding softness with strength. My heart can rest, knowing I am learning to trust. Let these words settle as you breathe. Your subconscious mind is weaving them into new neural patterns, preparing you for the final step ahead. As you rest in this growing awareness, remember Samuel and Alina, each learning that walls, when approached with compassion, can slowly transform into open gateways. Each discovering that true protection is not rigidity, but the balance of guard and grace. The night embraces your journey, holding you tenderly as you learn to feel safe in your own skin. Whenever you are ready, a horizon of deeper transformation awaits. Softness remembered. Walls softened. Hope emerged. new pathways formed, healing unfolded. In the quiet, after a long journey of recognizing and soothing old fears, a new emergence begins. You may recall Lila's gradual unveiling of her heart's garden, or Samuel's painting that stirred memories of safe tenderness, or Alina's steps toward co-regulation in group presence. Each of them discovered that softening does not erase protection. It transforms it into compassionate guardianship. Now, it's your turn to close the loop, to walk the path from guardedness into a balanced embrace of openness, weaving together all the insights and experiences that have arisen within you as you listened and reflected. Imagine a river that has flowed between high, rocky banks for years. Those banks once kept the water from flooding the land, a vital, life-saving defense when rains were unpredictable. But as time passed, the river's flow, once wild, found its rhythm, calmer and more assured. The rocks, having served their purpose, begin to weather and shift. Slowly, the banks lower, not collapse, allowing the river to spill into a wider floodplain, nourishing new fields of possibility. Your emotional walls are like those rocky banks. They protected you when storms threatened to wash away your sense of safety. Now, as the storms subside and you build inner tools of resilience, the walls can soften, allowing the fullness of your heart's river to flow into new spaces, spaces where genuine connection and self-compassion coexist. Perhaps you recognize a small part of yourself still holding back, a quiet voice that asks, "What if I open and still get burned?" That question is valid, and it deserves an honest answer. When you soften your walls, the risk of discomfort or hurt does not vanish entirely, but the balance has shifted. Instead of operating from a place of past wounds, you now stand on ground fortified by awareness, mindful choice, and compassion. The risk becomes a conscious invitation. I may feel tender, and that's okay. I have the strength to meet life with an open heart. Think again of Kai, who learned through Marcus's gentle consistency that her heart could be safe. Over time, she practiced small acts of vulnerability, sharing a childhood memory without bracing for criticism, allowing a friend to see a tear she couldn't hold back, admitting her need for reassurance. Each act was a pebble loosening the walls, until she realized that vulnerability, far from being a trap, was a bridge to belonging. Let this be your guide. Start small, honor your pace, and celebrate each moment of openness as a triumph. Now, consider the neuroscience behind this transformation. When you experience genuine empathic connection, whether with yourself or another person, your brain releases oxytocin, a neuropeptide that fosters trust and bonding. This chemical signal tells the amygdala, "This is not a threat. You can relax." As this process repeats, the prefrontal cortex learns to interpret vulnerability as safety rather than danger. Neural pathways related to fear and withdrawal weaken, and new pathways supporting openness and connection strengthen. In practical terms, this means that every time you honor your softness, instead of instinctively guarding it, you are literally rewiring your brain to feel safer in vulnerability. Let's pause to reflect. What small act of vulnerability can you offer tonight? Perhaps it's sending a kind message to someone you appreciate, sharing a genuine compliment, or admitting to a trusted friend that you need support. Whatever it is, imagine the moment as a seed planted in fertile soil. Breathe in, visualizing that seed taking root. Breathe out, letting any fear loosen and release. Know that each seed, no matter how small, carries potential for a forest of connection and compassion. There was another woman named Ruth. who lived most of her adult life believing emotional openness was synonymous with chaos. She kept a spreadsheet for her feelings, categorizing them so precisely that by the time she allowed herself to feel, the emotion was sterile, no longer vibrant or alive. Over time, she realized this method created distance rather than safety. On a quiet afternoon, she set aside her spreadsheet. Instead of analyzing, she chose to simply feel. She wrote in a journal, not structured by categories but by free-flowing impressions. I am tired. I want to be seen. I feel afraid, and I wonder if anyone will understand. That unstructured honesty, repeated nightly, became her soft ritual. It dismantled the final bricks of her fortress, brick by brick, revealing a self capable of embracing both pain and joy without needing to dissect them first. In that open space, she discovered an unexpected peace, a ground beneath her feet that no longer trembled at every gust of emotion. As you rest here, let Ruth's journey remind you that you don't have to master every feeling before you share it. You only need to begin. Begin by noticing the sensations of your body right now. Perhaps your chest feels a gentle weight or a soft warmth. Maybe there's a subtle tension in your jaw or a flutter in your stomach. Wherever you feel something, direct a gentle breath there. Let the breath soften and invite compassion. You are meeting yourself with kindness, and that is the essence of true vulnerability. At times, you may fear that openness will invite pain, but consider the paradox. Hiding your true self can blind you to authentic joy. When your heart remains hidden, you also remain shielded from warmth. The world outside can only see the walls you erect, not the beauty that lies within. Yet, when you choose to let your guard down, you offer the opportunity for genuine connection. Moments when someone meets your honesty with acceptance, when your softness is cradled rather than crushed. Reflect. Who in your life has ever responded to your vulnerability with kindness? Perhaps a close friend who listened without judgment, a parent who embraced your tears, a partner who held your hand through uncertainty. Recall their faces, the warmth in their voice, the steady assurance in their eyes. Let these memories serve as evidence that kindness exists, that softness can be met with compassion. Allow the memory to wash over you like a gentle wave, settling any lingering doubt. Now, as the night deepens and your breathing becomes rhythmic, envision a practice you can carry forward. It might be a nightly journal prompt. What did I allow myself to feel today? Or a simple morning affirmation. My vulnerability is my strength. Choose a phrase or ritual that resonates, something that honors your journey and invites your heart to soften. Each time you engage in this practice, you reinforce the new neural pathways of openness. You train your brain to associate vulnerability with safety, compassion, and growth. And so, as you journey toward sleep, let this final story guide you. A young man named Ezra spent years believing that he had to have perfect control over his emotions to be worthy of love. He ascended in his career, seemed put together to everyone he met, yet felt an emptiness he couldn't name. One winter evening, while staying at a friend's cabin, he found himself unable to regulate a sudden wave of grief. Grief for a childhood lost to parental expectations. Grief for a self he'd never allowed himself to become. He stepped outside into the snowy night, the air crisp against his skin. For the first time, he let himself cry without shame, without an audience. The cold air stung, but he stayed, allowing tears to fall. In that moment, something shifted. He recognized that vulnerability didn't weaken him. It connected him to the essence of being human. Over the next months, Ezra began small. He shared a feeling of sadness with a colleague. He sat with a friend whose pain mirrored his own. He allowed warmth to enter his chest without flinching. Each act of softness taught him that vulnerability was a path, not a pitfall. He realized that the true measure of strength lay not in perfect control, but in the courage to feel fully and to share that feeling with others. As you drift toward rest, bring Ezra's bravery into your own heart. Tonight, if a tear wells up, let it. If a thought of fear arises, breathe and let it pass. If the urge to retreat into old defenses whispers in your mind, greet it with compassion. I see you, I honor you, but I will choose openness. You are forging a new way, a way where softness and strength walk side by side. Affirm softly, letting each word become a gentle echo in your subconscious. I am worthy of connection and compassion. My vulnerability is a brave expression of my authenticity. I choose to lower my walls with courage and care. Every breath I take supports my heart's healing. I am becoming open, balanced, and whole. You may now allow these words to settle, like a gentle blanket smoothing your mind. The night will carry these truths into your dreams, weaving new patterns of safety and openness into the fabric of your being. If this space speaks to you, like and subscribe now. Or, if you're already deep in focus, let it wait. Come back when the moment feels right. Good night. Sleep deeply, and let your mind take one small step toward something new.